Hello, James Barfield with your Urban Connection. And today I am very fortunate to have someone that I have long wished to have a visit with and a conversation with, Mr. John Boyd. And he is the founder and CEO of the National Black Farmers Association. Welcome to the program, Mr. Boyd.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. And I really appreciate your time.
Well, sir, it's a pleasure for me to have you here. Now, Mr. Boyd, what I would like for you to do, you've been a Black farmer for over 30 years, is that correct?
39 years, yes.
39 years, okay. Now, what I'd like for you to do, sir, is start back at the beginning. And when we had, what, about 1 million Black farmers in this country? Or something close to that?
Yes. At the turn of the century, there were over 1 million Black farm families in the United States. 1 in 14 farmers in this country were Black. And okay. We built 20 million acres of land. And today we're down to about 4.5 million acres. And we have about 50,000 Black farmers that make a living by farming. And then we have a host of part-time farmers and things of that nature. But we've lost a lot of land. And we lost a lot of our Black farmers. And quite frankly, I'm going to say on your show that we're actually facing extinction as I'm sitting here talking to you.
Sure.
So it's a very, very critical time in history for Black people and Black farmers.
So Mr. Boyd, tell me, how did we lose the number of farmers and the number of acres or acreage in that period of time?
I would say in a two-pronged facet. One, what we call the Great Migration up south.
Okay.
Where Blacks left their farms in the 30s and 40s and 50s, looking for a better way of life because farming and agriculture had such a bad taste in its mouth for Black people.
Sure.
Being from the slavery point of slaves in this country, sharecroppers, and able to purchase a little land after the Civil War. So we lost some farmers that way and some land. And the rest of it, I'm going to say, is through the hands and eyes of the United States Department of Agriculture and all of its fingers. When I say fingers, I'm talking about the top 10 banks and agribusiness companies that also played a role in stealing land from Blacks. Where at USDA, they have a 3-member county committee that's primarily lily white, 99% white men sit on these committees, and they make decisions on who gets how much in each county. And many Black farmers, if you were lucky enough to get a farm operating loan from USDA, and it used to be called the Farmers Home Administration back in the early days, and changed the name in the 90s to what's called now the Farm Service Agency. They changed their name, but they didn't change the way they do business with Blacks. And what they would do is they would say, hey, well, Boyd is in trouble. Let's go ahead and call this note in. And the persons who would have first chance at purchasing that land or getting it back from the government would be the people on that county committee. So they had first option is steal land, and they were getting this land, people, for pennies on a dollar from what we owed on it. And I always said if they could give it away to white men on the county committee, they can work out something to keep the Black farmer on the farm. So many white farmers, if they got in trouble with Farmers Home Administration, they would be offered a bunch of different programs under what's called 1951S as in Sam. That's the loan servicing for our federal government for farmers. They can do debt write-down, loan reamortization. They can reschedule payments. There's a host of different options that should be offered to a farmer before his or her farm is sold. So white farmers was getting debt relief. They were getting it with ease, and they were getting it all the time. And Black farmers were getting what's called 30-day loan acceleration notice. I got one, and I went to my own sale, and they sold my farm through the same process. So what I'm telling you, I know is gospel.
Sure.
That's the way that they were legally using our own federal government to steal land from Blacks, and it went unregulated and unnoticed for many decades until we began speaking out about it in the 80s and 90s.
Okay, now, you bring up an interesting issue because I'm sure that these committees have been around as long as you've been around.
Yes.
And that you confirm this for me. Has there ever been any Black committee people?
They have what's called, and you asked a very good question. They have what's called a minority advisor to the county committee. The minority advisor doesn't have any voting rights.
Okay.
It's the last federal part of the federal government that has Black people sitting on it but can't vote. Okay. I've been trying to do away with the county committee altogether and the county committee advisor. Unsuccessfully, in a bunch of different farm bills, I tried to get the government to do away with the county committee. I said we didn't need it. They only need one person there to make loans. Why do I need a 3-member panel that can collude on how much money they're going to steal from the taxpayers and get the subsidies and loans and deny Blacks? So they have what's called a minority advisor. The county committee is only a farmer elective cooperative, so to speak. So you have to be a farmer to vote. Sure. And elect those 3-member panels. And the numbers don't add up for Blacks versus white, where we represent less than 1% of the nation's farmers, and the other 99% pretty much are made up of whites and a few other minorities.
So this is kind of like an advisory committee or advisory board that government agencies often use, which have no power, no authority, and no money. They can't change anything, okay? But it just kind of makes them feel good. And it's supposed to make us feel good, okay? Yeah. But they don't do anything. And look, so basically what you have is you have a situation where the USDA as a federal agency is still not leveling or not even attempting to level the playing field between white farmers and Black farmers. Is that correct? Absolutely not. It's not a level playing field. And, I'm going to ask a question that I already know the answer to. We've had 2 settlements. I'm going to talk a little bit about that, that didn't provide injunctive relief. Injunctive relief is debt relief for Black farmers that I just described that whites were getting under that measure. We didn't get it. So I went to Congress to get debt relief. This is a 3-decade-old request from people like myself who's been to Congress and tried to get him into 2 settlements and failed to do so. So we finally get lucky enough, by the grace of God, in last March, to get the measure in the COVID spending bill relief package that provided $5 billion, $4 billion in debt relief and $1 billion to do technical assistance and some other things. As soon as the money got appropriated and signed into law by the president, white farmers immediately started suing us. 12 different complaints in separate federal courthouses in states around the country, such as Texas, Wisconsin, and Florida. And the courts issued 2 temporary injunctions, one in the state of Florida and one in the state of Texas, which primarily says we can't get the money right now. So these white farmers who were very well organized, very well funded, picked very conservative judges and courtships around the country to file these complaints in, stopping and preventing Blacks from getting the long overdue debt relief. And in these complaints, they describe it as a new loan program that excludes white people. This is nothing far from the truth. That is what they're saying in that complaint. I just told you the history. I've been trying to get debt relief for Black farmers for over 30 years. And the whole time the Washington Post was reporting about it sporadically, the New York Times and CNN all talked about this debt relief board was trying to get. Not one time did a white farmer pick up the phone and call me, or I can't quote him in any of those articles saying,
you know what, we're against Blacks getting debt relief, or we find it harmful or discriminatory or unconstitutional by providing debt relief to Black farmers. They had over 3 decades to say that, but the very minute it becomes law, and they see that $4 or $5 billion may wind up in the hands of Blacks and other farmers of color, oh my God, we can't let these Black people have any money, and they run to the courts for protection and deny. And that's what they've been doing to Blacks in this country since we've been here. If they think you're going to get some justice, they run and try to cut it off. You know, it's really disturbing for them. But I call it a continuation of Jim Crow. I call it a continuation of sharecropping, where white farmers, and that's who's suing us, people. That's not me just saying this. Every farmer knows complaints are white, who are blocking money to Blacks and other farmers of color. They simply want it all. When I say them, I'm saying white farmers. Yes. And that's not the way that America is designed or supposed to be. America is supposed to be a melting pot for everyone to get something. We work hard. We're not bad farmers, as I've seen some of the reports on Fox News and some of this other stuff that, maybe these Black farmers just can't farm. We were good farmers when we were slaves, and we were great farmers when we were sharecroppers. So don't tell me we can't farm in this country. And we stayed here and we farmed and produced and contributed to America's farming agriculture fabric in a proud, dignified manner. I can show you these Black farmers, they're deacons in church, they're preachers, they're local civic leaders and elected officials. These are not shabby people that I'm describing here to you. They're very proud people. Like my grandfather, Thomas Boyd, slept with a deed underneath his mattress. He raised 15 children. And he said his greatest attribute in his life is that he had 15 children and none of them been to jail. They didn't go to jail because they was too damn tired from working to get in any kind of mischief. That was his greatest pride. He didn't say, I have children who graduated from this institution or that institution. He said, I raised 15 kids and it wasn't they wasn't causing harm in the community. It wasn't getting in trouble and all of these things.
Sure.
That's the difference in some of the Black farmers that I'm describing to you. So very dignified people, very proud people. And many just aren't going to be as vocal as I am talking to you about the pain and suffering that we endured, here in this country.
Well, Mr. Boyd, I want to say something to you, a couple of things. You mentioned Fox News, and Fox News is unfair and unbalanced, okay? And I don't watch them, I don't listen to them, because it's all cockamamie, okay? And they are just like some of these politicians, okay? Yes. Now, one of the things I want to say to you is, the white farmers, and let me just tell you, I'm from Wichita. This is the Midwest. This is Kansas. This is agricultural country, agricultural region. Now, I happen to know, as well as you do, you know this as well as I do, that every year, white farmers get anywhere from 25 to $50 billion. They never claim any discrimination when none of it is shared with Black farmers.
That's right.
And as you said, when you get $1 billion or $2 billion, oh my God, this is reverse discrimination, Yes. And we didn't get any of this. Well, hell no, you didn't share any of the 50 billion you got last year with us. You didn't think about us.
Yes. And where I was going.
So, this thing is just totally unbalanced from head to toe, from top to bottom. Now, I want to ask you this. We've got 2 senators up there in Washington, D.C., Senator Moran and Senator Marshall. Now, I want to ask you, have you had any conversations with those senators who are from farming country, agricultural country, directing money to these farmers in the Midwest and in Kansas? Have you had any conversation with them about your dilemma?
I've had conversations. So your people who are watching your show with every senator and every congressman, Republican and Democrat, and some of the conversations have been receptive, and some simply they don't care if Black farmers are here or not. So you have that particular population. But one thing I can say was uplifting is when we have a Black chairman in the House Agriculture Committee, David Scott from Georgia, who held the first Black farmers full committee hearing. And then the announcement of Senator Cory Booker and from New Jersey, and Senator Ralph Warnock from Georgia, both appointed to the Ag Committee in the Senate. So we've had a better reception in the Ag Committee, both in the House, because we have a Black chairman there, and both in the Senate, where we have leaders like Warnock and Booker, who were the sponsors of the debt relief measure. Those two persons, Senator Cory Booker, so I want to give them a thumbs up, and Senator Ralph Warnock, who sponsored that language that I've been pushing for so many years, and they stuck it in the farm bill and got it to move. So those type of people who are doing what they need to do to help Blacks need to be lifted up, and those who are dumping on us, we got to let people know that they're simply not here to help us. But I lost my train of thought when I was talking about the $5 billion. And what I was going to say is, if white farmers had $5 billion coming to them that was blocked in court by Blacks, they wouldn't stop in this country until they fix it, so that white farmers can get it.
Sure.
That's what I'm asking for. So for people who don't know what I'm asking for on the show, we need the same resources as whites, and we simply need two words: same as, period. Same as. I want the same contract that white farmers are getting with PepsiCo. I want the same terms and conditions on the farm subsidies for Black versus white. The same processing time, 387 days for Blacks, less than 30 days for whites. I want 30 days for Blacks.
Sure.
We want the top 10%. We want to participate in that and receive $1 million like white farmers are receiving. The average subsidy to a Black farm is $200. $200, people. So you got one particular group of people, white men, in the top 10% receiving $1 million of taxpayer monies. It's not a loan, it's a subsidy. It's a government giveaway. If you want me to give you the direct
welfare. It's government welfare.
It really is. They give them the money, they're not going to give it back.
Right.
And the average subsidy to a Black farmer is $200, and many people don't see anything wrong with that. So I've been trying to fix that.
Well, I'll tell you another issue that I have. White farmers across this country are often paid taxpayer dollars not to even grow their crops, or not to bring their crops to market. I mean, this is nothing more than corporate welfare. I don't care how you look at it or what you want to call it. That's what it is. Okay. Yeah. And yet, the Black farmers who are struggling, working hard, trying to make a living like everybody else, okay, trying to be a productive citizen in the United States, paying taxes in the United States, but you can't seem to get a break. So I want to ask you this question. The current, I believe the Secretary of Agriculture is Vilsack. When Vilsack was being questioned upon when he was nominated to be the secretary, he made all kinds of promises. Was that all lip service that he made and did?
Well, I'm going to have to go back and tell it correct for your viewers. When I first sat down with then Vice President Biden, he was still being referenced as Vice President in South Carolina before we came out in support of him. I told him that we need change at USDA. The last secretary, Sonny Perdue, was the worst secretary in history for Blacks. Who he told me in a FaceTime meeting, board, your people are going to have to get big or get out. He just didn't see much future in this country for Black farmers. That's Sonny Perdue, former Secretary of Agriculture. So I'm telling Vice President Biden that we need some real change. As my grandmother would say, someone with galls and gumption to come there and make the drastic changes needed to make it better for Black farmers. And he said he would. I want to go on record telling you what he said to me. He said, well, I can tell you right now, there'll be a change at USDA. And I told him that Secretary Vilsack had already served 2 terms, and we needed a new blood there. They came back and said, well, they're going to send Vilsack back to agriculture because he had experience. And my exact words to the president was, I said, Mr. President, I have, he's now elected. I'm saying I have nothing against former Secretary Vilsack. I said, but he's the wrong man for this time in history because he's already served 2 terms. He knows all of the issues that I've been raising to him for all those years, and he didn't fix it. And I don't think he's going to come back to agriculture, to USDA with the ambition and the fire that's needed to fix the problems for Black farmers. And he told me if it didn't work out with Vilsack to come back and see him, and I did. So July, I'm sitting in the White House and I'm telling President Biden, well, I can't tell him anything, but I can tell him from my perspective, Mr. President, that things aren't working out with Secretary Vilsack, and you're going to have to make some changes there. And he said he wasn't prepared to talk about what he's going to do for the $5 billion. But he said, board, we have a FaceTime meeting where we could discuss some of the options where the White House may be able to circumvent what's going on with the $5 billion. With that said, I don't think Secretary Vilsack is the right man for the right job at USDA. I think he has too much old history with him. And to come out now and say we're going to have a commission and come up with another study, I'm saying no more studies for Black farmers. We got the Blue Ribbon Task Force, the Commission on Civil Rights, the Civil Rights Action Team report, the DJ Miller report, report after report, study after study, all say the same thing, that Black farmers have been dogged and mistreated brutally at the hands of the government. We don't need another study. So let me go on record saying I'm against the commission and we don't need another study. We need implementation. We need farm operating laws. We need farm ownership laws. We need farm subsidies. And we need fairness and equality from the United States Department of Agriculture and all of the people and these farm service agents, agency officers that don't want to see Black people come in. They need to be fired. If you've been guilty and found guilty of discriminating against Black farmers, what the Sam world are you still doing working at USDA?
Absolutely.
That's what we need.
Well, you see, now we're talking about something that's kind of the pain in my, I won't say what, but, see, this is the way government works. And you probably know this. When you're dealing with African Americans and Hispanics, when you got a problem that you really don't want to deal with, you want to kick the can down the road, instead of looking at some policy changes, the first thing you want to do is throw an advisory board at it, throw a study at it, okay? And that does never, or very, very seldom, does studies result in policy changes. And that's what you're talking about. You're talking about policy changes, not studies. Yes. The issue has been studied to death. All of the studies lead in the same direction. So now we have enough data, because that's what they will say, you need the data. We've got plenty of data to show that there's a large disparity between white farmers and Black farmers, and it's not new. This is an age-old problem, okay? Something tells you when you have a loss of over 900,000 farmers in 30 years, when you have a huge loss of acreage, something is not right, okay? Yes. There's some bad policies out there, okay? Absolutely. And so if you're serious about this, don't tell me about a study, tell me about what you're going to do about this problem that we have.
That's where I am, and here on your show as well, I want to let the listeners know that they need to reach out to the White House and call the White House and demand that they have this meeting so we can get to the bottom of this mess. I think the problem has gone past Secretary Vilsack, and it goes back into the person who tapped him for the position, and that's President Biden. He's going to have to get back involved and take a strong look at why we can't get our money, why we can't get servicing, why we can't get all of these things. And this is a Democratic administration who voted overwhelmingly for President Biden. And I would say this isn't about like or dislike people. This is about fact and reality. So it's a bigger difference. And I want to state that I don't hate white farmers. I want to go on this show and tell you that if they qualify for those goods and services and programs, more power to them. But if I qualify, I want it too.
Sure.
As I said earlier, a same as period. Nothing in between and nothing afterwards. Same as. Don't treat me different because I'm 6 foot tall and 240 pounds and darker skin and baritone voice. Judge me on my 39 career at my time behind the plow and in the tractor. That's what I want you to judge me on. My ability to farm and produce a crop and to know my skill set that my forefathers taught me. That's what I want you to judge me on. And if you don't think I'm good after that, then that's your opinion, and I can accept that. But judge me on my qualifications as a steward of the land.
So let me ask you this, sir. Across the country, basically, what products do Black farmers actually produce?
We grow everything. So it's a stereotype that people say they're not growing a whole lot of crops. We grow sugar in Louisiana. We're growing cotton in Texas. I grow, as I'm sitting here talking to you, right outside my farm here, 100 head of beef cattle. So I raise Angus beef cattle. I raise corn, wheat, and soybeans. So I'm a 3 commodity farmer, just like many white farmers are in this country. I'm competing, and I'm going to tell you on your show, I'm just like that proud Black farmer that I described to you. I don't want the worst looking farm. I don't want the worst looking crop. I want my crop to look like something. And when you drive past my farm, I want them to say, oh, that's Boyd farm. He's a pretty good farmer. Sure. So I'm proud of what I do, and I don't apply a whole lot of stuff that I think is going to be harmful to people. And I take pride in the crops that I produce here. So we grow everything, tomatoes in Florida, potatoes, upstate New York. We grow everything. So people will be surprised. And like I said, we're very, 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 very good farmers. But before I go, I got another interview in a few minutes, but I wanted to spend a few minutes talking to you about Pepsico.
Yes, sir.
So we raised the issue, the National Black Farmers Association raised the issue about Aunt Jemima on the pancake box. Mm-hmm. So they have this very timed photo of Aunt Jemima on the pancake box that we're all familiar with. And I don't care who you are, eventually you've seen Aunt Jemima on the pancake box. I don't care who you are.
Yes.
And we raised the issue that she's on your pancake box, but you're not producing any Black farmers or having Black farmers grow the commodities that go into the elements of the pancakes. Mm-hmm. PepsiCo buys everything from coffee for Starbucks, for sugar. They buy all these commodities. I want to be clear, they buy direct from farmers. Sugar, corn direct from farmers, potatoes direct from farmers, just a few line items that right there that I'm naming. And they came to the table and they immediately said, well, you know what? All our farmers or contractors are white, and they are white men, all of them. Everybody who's supplying those commodities are all white men. And they said, yes, we need to do better and we need to have Black farmers in our supply chain. So I was glad to hear that.
Sure.
We spent a year and a half going through our national database, qualifying farmers in those prospective areas where they have buying stations. And PepsiCo agreed to start with potatoes. I'm okay with that. So they said, yes, we'll start with potatoes, this amount of many acres, and you guys are qualified, and we had the producers, they're ready to deliver. And they said, January, we'll talk about getting the contract signed from the producers, and you guys can start delivering potatoes in the fall. So I get on this Zoom call in January, and it's all of these calls. There were a number of calls, people, in this year and a half period of time. I'm really telling you this story fast here. Bunch of calls, a bunch of correspondence, a bunch of different executives that I'm talking to at PepsiCo, and they get on the Zoom call in January, and they said, "Well, Mr. Boyd," and my daddy always said that if there's more than two people in the room when there's supposed to be two, and there's more than two, it always equates to a bad news for Black men. So I get on the Zoom call, and it's not two, it's 10 PepsiCo executives. And what my daddy taught me was right. And they got on the Zoom call, and they said, "Well, we're going in a new direction here at PepsiCo that will not include the National Black Farmers Association and its members. So we won't be going forward with the contract, that we're going in a new direction." They waited for the media to go away on the Aunt Jemima issue, and waited for that to die down. And they said, "Well, we keep talking to these guys, and eventually we'll tell them that we're not going to do anything." That was their plan. My sincere plan was to deliver whatever commodity to PepsiCo.
Sure.
And I said earlier, we wanted the same as. We want the same terms and delivery condition as white farmers have for those particular commodities. Give us the chance to deliver, people. That's what we're asking for. So I read all these comments and all this stuff, crazy stuff these people say. We want the same delivery time, the same contract, not a word different. But they don't want to do that. They want Black people to be entertainers. They want us to be entertainers at the PepsiCo halftime show. They want us to be entertainers on the commercial. But you can't be a part of the business model, people. We have to demand to be owners and a part of the business model. It's the same way in the NFL and all these other things. You can get out there and dance for them and perform for them, but you can't own. We have to get away from becoming just consumers and become owners in this country and start to control. And the way to change this whole thing, as I close, is to buy some land. Land is the key to freedom. Land is the key to economic wealth. If you want justice, you go buy yourself some land. If you want change in this country, go buy yourself some land. If you want some economic wealth in this country, go buy yourself some land. They can't ignore you. With every step you take, every step you make requires land ownership. They either got to come on your land and trespass or ask you, can they come on? But if you don't have any land, they'll continue to stomp on you, walk on you, and all of these other things. We're not a part of it. We're economic power because we don't own any land. And the minute we control some land in this country, we start to control the food. And once you can start to control the food, you can start to control the direction that the country's going in. Buy some land. We don't need no more raggedy cars and pickup trucks. Don't buy them raggedy cars. They ain't worth nothing. They're going to depreciate and they're going to be raggedy and stay in somebody's shop. But that land will pass along generational wealth to your children. They'll be able to build a fine home. That land will carry your name on a deed and the courthouse and the records. That's the Boyd farm. That's the Harris farm. Own some land. If you don't want to own some land, go buy a building, but don't buy any cars. Stop buying these raggedy cars and buy some land. If you can afford a new car, you can afford 5 acres in the country. I promise you.
Mr. Boyd, I know time is short, but I cannot let you go without talking a little bit about PepsiCo. A lot of people see PepsiCo as a bottling company, but I just want to point out, PepsiCo has 23 different food products on the market. Black people buy huge amounts of Pepsi, huge amounts of Gatorade, huge amounts of Aunt Jemima products, Starbucks bottled beverages, Rice-A-Roni, Tropicana juices, Quaker Oats, Stacy's pita chips, Dorito chips, Cap'n Crunch cereal.
That's right.
And tea, Be So juice, So Be, I'm sorry, and energy drinks such as Rockstar and Game, etc. So I want to ask you a question, sir. Have you ever thought about a boycott of PepsiCo and its products?
Yes, and we announced it. We announced the boycott last week of PepsiCo through a national press release that we put out. And I'm hopeful that it would catch on in the Black community. We're also asking for athletes, the younger generation through rap music. You got to get involved in the Black farmers movement. The oldest occupation in United States history for Black people is farming. Don't turn your back on your history. Don't turn your back on your forefathers and what they had to go through in this country, man, to survive. And so you can stand on their shoulders. Don't forget about us. Reach back and get us and take a stand. Take a stand against PepsiCo. Speak out against the broken promise of $5 billion. You know, we didn't get our 40 acres and a mule. And we see the $5 billion as another broken promise to Black people in this country. We need this younger generation to get involved and stand up and say, you know what? As Fannie Lou Hammond said, we're sick and tired of being sick and tired. We need some results here.
And one more product I want to mention, PepsiCo also owns Aquafina water. And
Yes.
Aquafina was first introduced to this country right here in Wichita, Kansas in 1994. So
Wow.
boycott, sir, one of the things they understand, I don't care if it's a CEO or a route someone, they understand when you hit them in the pocketbook.
Yes.
Okay? And that's a lesson we must learn. Spend your money where it's appreciated.
That's right. And that's what we have to do it. And we have to begin again to start to work together. And I believe that love is greater than hate. Teach your children and your family to love Black people. We're not against one another. Stop killing each other and start loving one another. And let's start bonding together and make a change in this country for Blacks in this country. We've been suppressed for so very, very, very long. That's what I'm trying to say.
Mr. Boyd, it's
Thank
been
you.
a pleasure having you, sir. I've enjoyed talking with you.
George.
Keep on keeping on.
Thank
Keep
you.
the fight on. Stay in touch, sir. And you're
Yes.
always welcome here. And I'd love to talk with you again in the future.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
Appreciate you. Have a good day.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right, folks, that's another edition of Your Urban Connection. What?